This is the Blockchain Real Estate Podcast, sponsored by the Blockchain Real Estate Summit. If you're interested in the intersection of real estate, blockchain technology, AI, and more, you've come to the right place. Enjoy the show.
Our next sponsor is the Sense for Fit app. It is the gamified. You can do fit to earn. So, and I know I don't look like it, but I am using the Sense for Fit app, and I'm earning tokens while doing it. You can go to senseforfit.com, get the Sense for Fit app, and the really cool thing is not only can you get tokens, but you can also refer people, and you will earn tokens by referrals. And they are having a super fantastic summit in Bucharest, Romania. It's going to be the largest fitness festival in Europe this year. They were the second largest last year, but this year, August 31st, or actually August 30th and 31st, and there's going to be a super cool forfeit token party on August 31st at one of the hottest nightclubs in Bucharest, Romania. With that, as always, this is not financial advice. Anything discussed here, you should always talk to your accountant, your attorney, and your tax professionals, and anybody else that advises you. This is not an offer or solicitation for investment. Nothing in here contained is something that you should act on. This is for educational purposes only. With that, we're talking to Tyler Vinson from Real Estate Tokens, REtokens. So Tyler, give me a little bit of background as to why you decided to get into tokenized real estate.
So I've been a professional real estate investor for probably 24 years or so. I've been in this space. So my background is in investment real estate, syndication, everything from single family, multifamily, some retail, and some office. So kind of did it all, but I did end up specializing in multifamily and storage. So creative deal finance was always a big part of what I did, as well as working with private investors. So very familiar with structuring deals creatively and, using different capital stacks and things like that. And I always, really had a kind of a dream and a vision of a one-stop shop for real estate investment and real estate investors. Because back when you and I got into the space, there was very limited resource. You talk to a CPA would say one thing, an attorney says another, and then there was a guru. There was only two of them back then, right? And they
Carlton Sheets.
yeah, and Russ Whitney was one that I was in. That's right. But you kind of really had to try to piece this all together and get contradictory advice. And I remember the one question at the time that sent me down the rabbit hole was the guru was saying, buy your real estate in an LLC. The attorney set you up that way. The lender said there's no way you're buying this in an LLC, and the real estate agent didn't know how to come up with an accurate cash flow. So I eventually launched a real estate brokerage dedicated to just investment real estate, and I did that for years and years, and worked with private investors, and that's how I got into the space. As far as the tokenization itself, I was serving on a board of directors for NARPM. In fact, I think I was the president at the time, which is the National Association of Residential Property Managers. And there was a former president. We were having a conversation, and he was talking to me about this blockchain project that he was working on and how he was making tokens. Well, now I know what he was talking about was like utility tokens for the community of an apartment and things like
Really?
that. But
Really?
yeah.
And what year was it? What year was he doing this?
This was 2021.
Oh, okay.
Yep. And so I started asking more about that and what was kind of going on there. But my mind is always of the real estate investor and deal structure and syndication. And I've worked with a lot of private investors. So I immediately started thinking about not only how they could potentially structure their deals, but the type of access they can give. Because there's really two problems that I always wrestled with that really had me jump in with both feet. One of them was that as a professional real estate investor and syndicator, I'd have millions of dollars of equity locked up in real estate, but if I wanted funds the next day, or, operations, real estate is illiquid, it's very difficult to get at all of that money. And it didn't seem to make sense where you'd have millions of dollars of equity, yet need to grab 100 grand or something, and that be a problem to get that out of your real estate. Because really the solutions we've been left with historically have been to either sell the asset, which you lose the asset, takes time, expensive, complicated, all those things, or go to the bank and do a cash out refi, play by their rules, again, takes time, expensive, and all of those things. So that
If
was
you
one
can cash out.
if you got it, you got it. Yeah, that's what I mean. Playing by their rules, and does the value come in, and how do things look? To your point, Michael. Yeah, can you even do what you actually want to do in any type of reasonable time frame? So that was a problem I really wrestled with and didn't like. And another one. If you bear with me for a short story, this one kind of pulls at my heartstrings and
I
why I
love
really
short
wanted to.
stories, and most people can, understand better with short stories than, you listing off capital stacks, or we start talking about blockchains and stuff like that. So go ahead. We want to hear the short story.
Yeah, perfect. So, I was, this is a few years back, also 2021. I was coaching my daughter's soccer game, and I came off the field and ran into a really good friend of mine from high school, a gal that we were like best friends in high school. And, after the hugs and how you doing and all that, and she says, hey, it's been so cool to watch your success in real estate and all the things that you're doing. And she said, me and my husband have been working really hard, and we've been saving up some money, and we would love to invest with you. And we both just kind of sat there for a minute. I didn't say anything. And she said, but we don't have enough money, do we? And that absolutely broke my heart, because they weren't millionaires. They weren't
Right.
accredited. I don't, and I was pretty much only doing deals where you had to be an accredited investor, 50,000 minimum. It's what professional syndicators are used to doing. And I didn't like it. It didn't sit well with me. This is somebody I wish desperately to be able to get involved with what I was doing. She wanted to. I don't know if they had 5 grand, 10 grand, 20 grand, whatever it wasn't gonna meet enough. And like I said, it was 2021. So the tokenization, the other things were all kind of mixing. And I thought, I need to do something about this. I need to change it. So when I started researching and following things, finding material like yours from back then, and others, I started really realizing the pathway that tokenization could provide. And that was it. I was all in on it at that point in time, and realized that the future of real estate and real estate investment involves real estate being liquid, and it involves access to those investors that would like to participate in these projects that are unable to. And bringing those together has been quite a challenge, especially with the regulatory environments, and she's non-accredited. So that's who we're ultimately trying to get at. But that's how I got into it, is the solving the problem of trapped liquidity, trapped equity, and challenges in capital raising, combined with being able to give access to most people to invest in this type of real estate. Because as we saw during COVID, a lot of us with assets, we really enjoyed some of that, inflation and the asset inflation and things like that. But those that did not have assets really got pushed the other way. And don't get me wrong, I enjoyed the benefits there, but that's not really, sustainable. We saw white sheets in the windows of people not paying rent. And we saw that in a massively inflationary environment, should that continue, what that can really do from a wealth gap standpoint. And again, I just don't think that's a really sustainable thing for the long term.
Well, you had a good time during COVID. I didn't, because we were in retail real estate, and a lot of our
Um,
tenants were shut down by the government. So,
yeah, yeah.
we not only had to deal with, how do we keep these tenants and make it through this, and we didn't know how long it was going to shut down. And unfortunately, some of our properties were in the north in bad cities, which, in states which kept things locked down, longer than they needed to. But the other problem was that you can't go and say to a tenant, "Oh, you don't have to pay this rent," because I got to get permission from the lenders. And so we not only had to negotiate with hundreds of tenants, but we also had to negotiate with multiple lenders to say, I don't know how long it's going to last. And if you guys don't let us do this, we are going to be in big, big trouble. So, but
Yeah.
yeah, that was not a fun time for us. So, but
Yeah.
the asset prices did go up, and I'm not complaining now.
Yeah, yeah. We had a period of that where there's a moratorium on rents, and there was definitely that time where we were negotiating with tenants and dealing with all that. But eventually there came some rent relief programs and things like that. But to your point, being proactive and contacting the tenants and working things out was helpful. So
And even more importantly, contacting the lenders before the stuff even started. So we were
mhm.
contacting the lenders in March when they were talking about, and they hadn't even implemented the shutdowns because I like to say it's not our first rodeo, and
Yeah,
probably won't be our last rodeo either. Hopefully, hopefully.
right.
So, Tyler, let's talk a little bit because I want to follow up with some of the stuff and some of the exciting things that tokenization can do. So, one of the things I really like about real estate tokenization, and which means we're basically talking about syndicated shares trading on a blockchain. Is that correct?
Yeah, if you let me go with another analogy, the way I like to describe it to folks is really because when you syndicate, you've got LLC membership units or shares, and we're simply making those ownership units digital and putting them on the blockchain. You're exactly right. To where real estate typically is like a large gold bullion, right? And it's really, kind of a lot of friction getting in, friction getting out, and everybody has to do the same thing, sell or refinance, and everybody's in it together. Well, if you take that large, gold bullion and you break it into 10 million gold coins that each person can kind of, optimize their portfolio, or they could sell or trade or do what they want on their own. They're
Or
not
borrow
forced to
against
do it
it?
the GP.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. Coming down the pipeline, then that's a huge benefit. And normally the GPs, us as GPs, feel forced to either sell or refinance because that's how we realize returns for our investors. To where we may sell it, wishing we kind of were able to stay in it, or we talked about some of the challenges with the cash out refis.
Right, right. And the great thing for, limited partners, which would be your investors, is that with tokens, which they can't do with paper shares of syndications, but with tokens in the United States, after a 1 year lockup period, those tokens can trade to accredited or non-accredited investors, which gets back to solving, one of the problems with your friend. It's not quite that, she can get in right away on the ground floor on the initial deal, but at least she's got an opportunity that if some of the shares come up for sale, she can see a seasoned property and she can still invest in it. So that's what I really like about this. And I'm hoping that they make some changes to the accredited investor laws because it just doesn't make sense to me. And I say this all the time that anybody can go out and buy a lottery ticket, and that's like the worst possible investment you can do, but you can't get into like really high quality real estate. And they kind of push you because it's the SEC, they push you into Wall Street. And what we're trying to do, and I know what you're trying to do because I know that's been your business, since you got in business, is getting people into Main Street.
Yeah, yeah, no, it absolutely is. And you're right. Under 144, those can be sold to non-accredited investors, and there's a whole, underlayment of compliance there. And we're actually also seeing a lot of traction in the Reg A plus tier 2 space now, where I do believe a lot of these larger future projects will go Reg A, so that non-accredited can invest right away and those can trade on an ATS right away. So I think that, towards the end of the year here, we'll start seeing a lot more projects like that.
Okay, so we're gonna back up a little bit and go through some of the big buzzwords that you just did. So we were talking about Regulation D, which is only sold to accredited investors. So you need a higher net worth, you need to be financially stable and everything to invest in those products. Then you mentioned Regulation A. And Regulation A is pretty much open to most people. Is that correct? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so right, we were talking about Reg D 506C specifically for accredited only, and the Reg A Plus allows non-accredited to get involved as well. It's not the same private placement process as a Reg D is. It is more intensive, and you are registering at a certain level with the SEC, so it takes longer. It's more expensive, but
More
it's not a
expensive.
full
Yeah.
yeah, but it's not a full registration like, say, an IPO, a public offering, or something like that. It's kind of in the middle of the two. So it's going to take you, maybe 3, 4 months to get because the SEC actually has to approve the Reg A's or check the box, if you will, approve that you can raise under that. To where a Reg D 506C, you just need your disclosure documents and filing a Form D.
Right. And why don't we talk a little bit about, you said ATS, which, the way I describe an ATS is it's not quite an exchange, but it facilitates, trading between parties. So why don't you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think if I overgeneralize it a little bit, if you compare it to something like the NASDAQ that trades public securities, this one trades private securities. So just under that. So whenever we do a syndication, whether you're the syndicator, a general partner, or whether you're a limited partner or an investor, you're going to have these, membership units. You could call them shares, or when we tokenize them, we call them tokens. They're just a digital representation of that. In the ATS, which stands for Alternative Trading System, they consider these alternative assets, is an SEC regulated marketplace for secondary trading. That means after it's sold to the original investor. And as you mentioned, normally that's a 12-month seasoning under a Reg D. You can sell those to other investors. So it's a shareholder to shareholder type trade or exchange or sell. There's all sorts of things we're working on right now when it comes to market making and liquidity pools and things to enhance the liquidity for this type of trading. But essentially, you've got somebody that, let's say somebody's invested in my storage complex currently, one of the investors, and let's say they've got $500,000, couple hundred grand in profit, and they want to help their relative with a down payment on a home. They could take $100,000 worth of those tokens, put them on the ATS, and sell them to investors globally. This will be a global marketplace. All you got to do is make it through KYC, which is a simple know your customer process and includes something called AML and anti-money laundering, but really a global marketplace where people can buy those tokens and now have ownership in them. We also, your show here, your listeners are here, kind of one of the first places we're really announcing this is we have an ATS launching here hopefully about the middle of May is what our projection looks like. We're in the final stages with FINRA on getting this approval, and we'll be SEC regulated, but folks will be able to go and buy those type of real estate assets on there. And we're actually even people will be able to bring their Bitcoin or their stable coin to that marketplace as well and get those converted to be able to buy these shares of real estate, these real estate tokens. And these are real ownership. It's not timeshare. It's not a REIT type thing. You literally get the K1 benefits, which means you get the tax benefits that are involved. You're a real owner, so proportionate upside, proportionate cash flow, and you're able to get into these investments. We've got stuff on the platform right now as little as $1,000 to be able to get in and participate and be an actual owner. So the ATS will be a marketplace where people can buy, sell, trade, and in the near future leverage their security tokens and really create not only liquidity but opportunity for investors and be able to unlock some of that trapped equity for what we call issuers or syndicators, GPs. They all kind of go in that box.
Yeah. And I would like to get back and talk a little bit more about, what's all involved with the ATS, because you put a lot out there and I'd like to unpack that. But I'd first like to get back to your platform, because I think we need to, pull back a little bit. And so your platform, is it only your properties, or are you listing anybody's property? So I could come on and put one of my deals on and, tell us a little bit about your platform, who's investing in it, who's listing assets there, and, a little bit more about that.
Thanks for asking that, Michael, because most of the time when you hear about tokenization platforms out there, they're really only tokenizing their own portfolio, right? They're doing acquisitions or funds and they're tokenizing that. And that's cool. People can buy those tokens and invest, but it's very segmented and siloed to where, no, we're one of the only companies out there that is there to service third parties. So absolutely, you can put your projects on there. We will be a broker dealer, a digital broker dealer, specific kind of license, and we will be able to not only tokenize your real estate, but we are able to give it a broker dealer certification. And there's a whole rabbit hole we could go down with valuations and ratings and stuff that we can choose to
won't go down
revisit.
that right now. We want to talk about the exciting part about how many people are going to be able to list their properties, and even more important, who and how many people are going to get into real estate as a result of you doing this.
I love it. Let's do that. We are so those tokenization platforms are open to list on our ATS. In fact, somebody that's really looking to scale their syndication brand, this would be an opportunity for them to do that, because they can go and expose their project to the world. They can bring in all sorts of investors in to their project. So we're working where it really to be ultimately blockchain agnostic. There is a particular blockchain we work with, and there's reasons we do that, called Polymesh, and we could talk about that. But the point is, like you said, bringing in as many on-chain, meaning tokenized assets as possible to this marketplace, because that's what the investors want. That's what the liquidity wants, including the big players, which are a part. We talked about non-accredited, but large investors are a big part of that liquidity as well. So influencers like yourself and others that have a brand that they really want to scale, it's a great way for them to be able to access a global marketplace and get on board. A big part of what we do is promoting that marketplace. Since technically we're not a broker dealer today, we can't promote a single deal. We can drive traffic to our platform, and there's investments there, and I encourage people to go take a look at those.
Oh, hold on one second. We need to give the website, so that people can actually see your platform and take it for a test drive.
Yeah, it's REtokens.com.
That's REtokens.com. Realestatetokens.com, but it's REtokens.com. All right, I interrupted you. Let's talk about, where you were going with, people listing and people seeing, and what type of projects they're going to see on there.
Yeah, I think they'll see a variety of projects. As a broker dealer, we do underwrite them to, there's a certain quality level that they need to be, but examples of asset types will be apartment buildings, retail buildings, storage facilities, developments. We've got some large land developments of single family home developers that are tokenizing, and some unique legacy properties. We tokenized the first church in the world, which was interesting. And I think you'll see some unique legacy properties like that. We've talked to
Can
some
I
folks
ask about
about.
that one?
Of
Is
course.
there income on that a lease with the church, like a sale leaseback?
There is. It's pretty limited. At this stage, we don't get too involved with that.
Mm.
Again, as a broker dealer ATS, we will be more involved with
Okay.
that.
Okay.
But it was the issuer himself that really structured that. So there is a little bit of that. The goal there, though, the reason he did it is he wanted to be able for the community and the church attendees as part of that community to
Oh, to own the
have
building.
ownership. So
Okay.
it's much more of
Got
a
it.
legacy investment than it would be a high return type of investment.
Wow, I've never heard of that, but that's pretty interesting. I mean, that could really work with all kinds of other like not for profit or, you know, even like, public housing or something.
That's right. Yeah, there's so many, as you know, Michael, there's so many doors that tokenizing real estate opens up. It's going to be a fun ride.
Yeah, very nice, very nice. Now, let's get back to the ATS because the thing that I really admire about you, Tyler, is this is such a heavy lift to go and get all the licensing to be a digital asset broker dealer and also get your ATS license because you not only have to go through the SEC, but you also have to go through FINRA, and they do extra scrutiny on digital assets. So why don't you tell me a little bit, how long has that taken you? I know that is a lot of money, but at the end of the road, I think what you're doing is going to be opening up. So, I'm hoping that you make money and I hope that you make all the money back. And, the thing is that you're just opening up, and democratizing real estate by going that direction.
Yeah, we're doing this for that exact reason, to democratize real estate and be able to move the bar forward in the evolution of real estate and real estate investment. At the same time, we're extremely confident that we'll be very, very profitable. By the end of next month, we should have about 100 million on platform, and that's not even, three steps to first base. We're in talks with folks with really, billions of dollars. And if you think about the LP, limited partner or investor investments that are locked up in these real estate syndications, that number is over 1 trillion by itself. And there's just not a marketplace for this. There's other digital ATS is out there, and to your point, it was a huge lift. I mean, the series license that you need to have, the legal teams, the multi. Anytime you're having regular meetings with 4 different attorneys on the whole time, those are not
Well, and
cheap
they're
phone
billing you
calls.
each individually. Yes,
That's
I've
what I'm
had that
saying.
happen,
Yeah. Yeah, that's a weekly meeting. And so but if you're going to do this, you need the best in the United States for, and I say the United States because it's the SEC that ultimately we need to appease here. And we put together that type of team. So very confident in that. I was going to mention a second ago that there's other digital ATSs out there. There's
Right.
T0, there's Securitize that people may have heard of, but they kind of cover all asset sets. And what I look at when I look at the other players, whether it's a digital broker dealer that's out there or some of these others, I'm not going to name names, but they have very much a if you build it, they will come mentality to kind of
Right.
restructure these capital markets. But they often go out of business and they're not doing much business. And the reason is the industry's not reacting to the if you build it, they will come, because they don't understand how that makes what they're doing better. They don't understand how that's going to solve any problems for them. Well, real estate's different, and we're different. We chose to only specialize in real estate and real estate debt because we understand that industry and how to solve those problems very, very well. Let me give you an
Well, can
example.
I just
Yeah, go
interrupt
ahead.
you? And then I want to
Sure.
hear this example because
Yeah.
one of the large players that you named there, we listed our Liberty token on, and it literally took close to 11 months to onboard because we had to train them on what to do with real estate. And we had to ask questions because we were, involved with institutional real estate that nobody had asked them before. Like, the really simple question was, what do you do? I said, oh, what happens if the blockchain stops working? And the CTO starts laughing at me and says, oh, the blockchain couldn't possibly stop working. I'm like, are you kidding me? Bitcoin has only been around since 2010. How could you possibly say that? So anyways, I interrupted you, but you are completely correct. Those were set up to do securities, and they're mainly focused on securities and funds. And there's not a whole lot of people that are, specializing in real estate. And the ones that do specialize in real estate, they come from a technology background. And so they don't understand the ins and outs of it. So I interrupted you. Give me the example that you were going to talk about.
No, Michael, you've got it. That's just it. I have a real estate background. That's where I come from, to where most come from the tech or sometimes the capital markets. I think they miss the culture and the large tribe, if you will, of what real estate investors are all about and what their needs are, because it's definitely different. But the example that I was going to give was, the value that we bring as a company and the real world problems that we solve. Because if you can't solve somebody's real world problems out there, what does it matter if it's tokenized and on the blockchain? And it's just a novelty kind of at that point. So for us, there's a grocery list of benefits to tokenizing real estate, and happy to get into that grocery list. But we really focus on three areas to help solve real world problems for real estate investors. One of them is just fresh capital and in capital raising, where when you tokenize into these smaller bits that can settle online, you're literally talking about being able, even on a primary offering, meaning the first time you offer the syndication, on our platform, for example, you can offer that anyone in the world who is an accredited investor, primary, Reg D, we talked about those things, can invest in that project 24/7, 365, right? And so, and you don't have to have these high minimums, because I'll get to number three in a second, that show why it's easy to bring on mass investors. But accessing fresh capital in an online form where everything can just be online. Somebody can be 2 a.m. or any time zone and be able to invest and see it around the world. So that really assists in the capital raising efforts for fresh capital. So that's one of them. Number two is unlocking that trapped equity that, let's take the LP side, for example. When an LP or an investor invests in a syndication, they're normally locked into that 3, 5, 10, I've heard 15, 20 years sometimes. And so they're hesitant to do that. I talked to one, he's like a professional LP. He's well known, so I won't say his name, but he gets 60 K1s every year. That's how many deals he had. And when we talked to him, he was just like, you guys are a godsend, because I have millions of dollars and I can't access any of it. I just have to, whatever the general partner, the syndicator is doing, that's what I have to do. And I'm in these things 5, 10, 12 years. There's nothing I can really do about it. I've been waiting for something like tokenization. That's the LP side. But even as a general partner, a syndicator, our big payday is normally when we sell the asset or do a cash out refi. That's how we access the equity we created by doing the deal. Well, when you sell the asset, you're kind of selling the goose that lays the golden eggs, right? And there's a lot of times where we don't want to do that. We'd rather, we want to get paid. We do this for a living, but we'd love to stay in the deal as well. And then back to the point of playing by the bank's rules and how that can go. Well, now for a GP, they could actually sell a portion of their real estate tokens, unlocking that trapped equity, stay in the deal, but get that. So that's the second thing, is unlocking trapped equity that's out there. And the third thing, and definitely shouldn't be understated, is the efficiency and automation that the technology brings to the table. The technology shouldn't change everything you're doing, but it should make it a lot better. So to where in the past, it was really difficult to manage a whole lot of investors. You had manual processes for subscription agreements, which is how people invest in the deals. You were taking phone calls or emails from investors to try to deal with those communications. You were using various softwares to try to, put things together. With a platform like ours, everything is right there, done online. Your offerings there, your security documents are there, your marketing's there, they subscribe there, they invest there, and we've got something called Token Genius AI that's custom trained to each of our offerings, our sponsors, their brand, to where their prospective investors and their current investors can ask questions 24/7, 365, and get the correct information on that offering. We're talking compliance, we're talking brand. We custom train these AIs for each offering that's on there. So it allows the overhead, the admin of having all those investor prospects and all those investors, it really, really limits that. And the fact that they can invest a little bit, see if they like it, how it goes, and invest more from there, makes investors more likely to do that. So the efficiency and the automation that we've built in with the technology really changes the game on managing a lot of investors. And you need that for secondary trading, right? You need people to be able to get the information without a manual step from the issuer or the sponsor.
Well, Token Genius AI is truly genius. So that is really, and you are so correct, because a lot of the time, and it still is that you end up having to have an investor relations person, or you as the syndicator general partner personally have to get on the phone and answer questions. And that's, all good. You should be able to answer any question. But, as you said, if I'm up in the middle of the night, or if I happen to be, living over in Spain, or, someplace else that I'm 7, 8 hours ahead of time, or, 10 hours ahead of time, I can at least have somebody answer the questions, and hopefully that'll answer most of the questions. But the even bigger thing that you just hit on, and it's pure genius, is, how do people understand these tokens if they're trading on a secondary market? Because that's, always been a sticking point for me, is sure they can trade on a secondary market, but how does somebody understand what's invested in it? How are you valuing it? All the rest of that stuff. And so I'm excited to see the Token Genius AI.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. I mean, not only is it trained on all the compliance features and all of that, but we really like to look at it as how somebody wants to scale their brand, to where if you hire somebody, and I know I've been in this position, you're hoping they answer the way you want them to answer, and you're
Right.
hoping they don't answer the same question different ways or skip parts of it, or maybe they're tired or distracted or something.
Yes.
But with the AI, it's going to answer it exactly how you want to answer it, exactly the right time. And that's going to give people more confidence to go ahead and move forward in the investment when they can find out everything they need to find out, get their questions answered immediately. They're going to feel more comfortable in moving forward.
Well, but you also hit on something that's a huge pain point for the syndicator GP, which is compliance. And so if
Yes.
you are answering those questions differently, and it happens to be you had an off day, you forgot to mention something, or you forgot to include something, or you just answered it differently, that's a compliance issue. And, everybody is always happy and things are great when the market's going up, as we saw between 2019 and 2022, 2023. It's a little bit of rough sledding right now. And so some of those properties and some of those deals that syndicators did are not moving forward as like everybody wants to. And sometimes there's litigation involved. So if you could show you're doing the same thing, you're completing with compliance, and it's machine compliance. So it's all the same every time. That's genius. So it is token genius by REtokens. So,
Yep. Yep.
all right. Well, we're getting close to the end of our interview here. Is there anything that you thought we need to include that we might have missed?
Typically, I would just say in general that both syndicators and investors have a lot of exciting things to look forward to when it comes to real estate tokenization. And I appreciate you, Michael, having a podcast like this, because once people, you know, understand what's going on here, then they can understand how to apply it in their world and what it means to them. I think that the mistake a lot of us, I'll put myself in that box, I made this mistake early on, was we talk a lot about the blockchain and the technology
Right.
side and all of that, but underlying the cool features is really what those are fundamental real estate investments. And that part hasn't changed, that these are fundamental real estate investments. They're just given additional enhancements like the amenities to be able to trade on a secondary market, which unlocks liquidity and gives
Right.
access to investors. And you brought up something earlier that I'm really looking forward to, and that will be the ability to leverage the real estate security tokens and get loans against those. Today, if you get a loan against real estate or real estate collateral, it's going on title. You're jeopardizing the title, and everybody has to play. An LP or an investor can't typically go get a loan against their shares in the building. Well, that's changing. They will actually be able to use their real estate tokens, their ownership, as collateral, as an additional pathway to liquidity, and be able to get that liquidity fairly immediately. So it's just been an exciting ecosystem to be a part of, and yeah, really working with
And you,
everything
you
from
mentioned
yeah.
LP
Go ahead.
shares. Those have
Yeah.
always been really illiquid too. So if somebody wants to get out of a paper syndication, you have to have permission. You have to, there's not a liquid market for it. So you usually end up taking a huge discount. So, I mean, you hit the nail on the head there. And I do believe once people figure out, there's all kinds of companies, and I just hear like constantly because I'm involved with some venture capital deals. How much money is being funded for people to borrow against Bitcoin, and it's just like, well, I don't know if I really want to be a lender against Bitcoin because Bitcoin has some huge ups and some huge downs. And if you are, and if you own that Bitcoin, you are borrowing against something that you could be liquidated. Boom. It does one of its drops at, 20, 40, 50% drops. It's like you're lost. You've lost your assets. Whereas, real estate, very slow to, appreciate or depreciate. And so you just don't see those wild swings. And the other thing against borrowing against Bitcoin versus borrowing against real estate is the stuff that you're going to find on RE tokens. Most of it has cash flow. so that you've got something that can service the debt, you've got something that you can value, you've got something that tangible that you're getting, actual value plus appreciation. So I truly, appreciate you coming on, Tyler. If people want to learn more about REtokens, can you give us a little information about where they go, what you've got there, what they're going to see, and where they can reach out to you on social media or anything like that?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, if they're just interested in real estate tokenization in general, they can go to our website, retokens.com. And we have a quick start guide to real estate tokenization on there. It's a free download. They can grab that, and that'll give them some excellent insight into what real estate tokenization is and what it's about. We, of course, can chat with them there. We actually have Token Genius AI bot on that site right now. So if you wanted to go there and ask further questions about REtokens, you can do that. We put out a lot of content on our YouTube channel. It's just at REtokens. And that's where we get in depth on the benefits of real estate tokenization, how to value and evaluate different tokenization purchases as an investor. And then we've got a great LinkedIn page as well, where we share some thought leadership in the space, and we're even on X. So it's at REtokens for most of those handles. X is at REtokens USA, and you can get to any of those from retokens.com. We want to provide education and information to everybody out there, and that's how you can get it.
Perfect. You got to be on X for the crypto degens.
Yeah,
So,
that's right. That's right.
well, Tyler, I really want to thank you for coming on today. Really appreciate the whole thing. People need to go and test out Token Genius on retokens.com, because that is something truly unique in the industry. And I want you to go and try and stump the Token Genius. So go to retokens.com. As always, I'm saying thank you, Tyler. We are out. Our sponsors again for today are the Blockchain Real Estate Summit. It's happening September 23rd through the 25th, and it's blockchainrealestatesummit.com. If you're interested in fitness and earning just by doing the best thing for your body, go to senseforfit.com, download the app, and start earning today. As always, this is not legal advice. This is not accounting advice. This is not financial advice. This is not investing advice. This is for pure education. And we definitely had a lot of entertainment from Tyler today. So Tyler, thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure and an honor.
If you enjoyed today's episode, please follow the Blockchain Real Estate Podcast on your favorite platform and leave us a review. Your feedback helps boost our visibility and allows us to reach more listeners like you. Have a guest in mind you'd like us to interview? Let us know by leaving a comment at blockchainrealestatesummit.com. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you at the summit.
Hi, this is Adam Carswell, the voice of Liberty. This podcast is solely intended for informational and entertainment purposes only and is not intended to provide tax, legal, investment, or accounting advice. You should consult your own tax, legal, accounting, or investment advisors before engaging in any transaction or undertaking. Thank you for listening to the Blockchain Real Estate Podcast, which is a part of the Blockchain Real Estate Summit Network. Go to blockchainrealestatesummit.com for more information, free reports, and giveaways with free stuff. Thank you.